Hi, Norm. How are you today?
I'm doing fine. How are you doing, Mark?
Excellent, excellent. Thank you for sitting down with me.
I've spent like 20 plus years in the seed and trade industry in Canada, the U.S., and Europe, and I've been fortunate enough to be part of GMOs coming to market, but also the use of marker-assisted breeding in different crops, whether it be canola, soybean, or vegetable seed, and seen a lot of technology come into the market and improve the products available to growers around the world. So it's been a real fun ride, and now a great opportunity to see the next wave of technology coming to market.
Yeah, well, what brings you to a meeting like PGDC?
Well, for us, it's really an opportunity to tell the story about the commercialization of gene editing and where it's headed from our perspective. There's a lot of talk about CRISPR technology and gene editing in general, but really we believe that we're on the cusp of this analog to digital moment where we really shift into the implementation of gene editing into developing products to solve farmers' problems.
Well, you gave a talk at the plenary session today about Cibus and the work you're doing. Can you talk a little bit about what Cibus is and what you do?
So Cibus is an agriculture technology company that is focused on proprietary gene editing. Our business is about developing traits for growers to solve yield and other challenges that they have, their production challenges through productivity traits. And we do that by using our high throughput gene editing technology, which our advantage as we see it is not only to be able to do that at scale with speed and efficiently and precisely, but also to really target complex problems that otherwise can't be solved.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of misconceptions about gene editing and how it works and how people can get into it. And so you guys really make things a little bit easier, I suppose, for people who want to dabble in the space. And how do you go about doing that?
So, from our perspective, we have the ability now to edit in the crops that we're developed in with canola and rice, for example, where we can really edit at scale with speed and efficiency. And so whether we're developing a trait that we're investing in working with seed developers, like with multinational companies to put it into their elite germplasm, or whether we're working with other collaborations where we've got a specific opportunity that we're working to help solve, we believe that we can be a real solution provider for both.
Yeah, when you're talking in your presentation about the importance of collaborations, and so that really sounds like it's something that's going to be really necessary moving forward with gene editing as it becomes more prevalent, and those partnerships that you're looking to form with people. I mean, that really sounds like it's the future of this.
Yeah, absolutely. The collaboration part is really key because unlike GMO traits where it's an event science and you're putting like an event in and you can hand that off to someone and they can go with it. It really is important to work with a partner's elite germplasm, and in some cases even customize and optimize the traits and the gene editing in their germplasm. And so those collaborations become very important. We have a focus also on sustainable ingredients, and that is more with downstream players that may be interested in a specific product coming out of a crop. And that's where we can partner with them through gene editing to create that product and get it into the crop.
The regulatory landscape with regards to gene editing has changed a bit recently. CFIA issued some much needed guidance concerning its approach to gene editing and basically said that, we will not regulate gene edited products any differently than conventional plant breeding, unless there's a herbicide tolerant trait, and then it would trigger, PNT legislation, and so there'd be a little bit more red tape involved there. But in general, CFIA delivered some good news last year and said, hey, we're going to treat this just like conventional plant breeding. And can you talk a little bit about why that was such good news for a company like yours?
Yeah, I think good news for a company like ours and the industry as a whole, because really what CFIA is saying is they're going to be regulating based on the product and not the process, which has really been a key tenet of the Canadian system that really I think is admired around the world for how they approach things. So that's been really positive. I think beyond that too, we've seen other jurisdictions really following that example. The EU, for example, has made great progress, and recently it's been very clear that they're going down a very similar type of path. Now there's been some positive announcements out of the EU, and we expect in the coming months it's really there's a clear path that they've outlined in terms of the tripartite negotiation that's going on now and potential amendments, but that combined with where the Canadian system is and the US system is really setting a very strong basis for consistent regulatory framework.
So Norm, how does Cibus help plant breeders?
So we're not a seed company. So if new lines come forward with gene edited products from Cibus, it's through a seed developer who will be doing the breeding work themselves. So where we come in is basically we work with the seed developer and get their elite germplasm and edit it, and then they incorporate that into their breeding program to create varieties or hybrids and commercialize. So we support that development through the trait development piece, and then they deliver the seed to the farmer.
In your opinion, Norm, when you think about the future of gene editing in Canada, I mean, this is something that now that we have that guidance from CFIA that we're just starting to embark on. I think, this year might be one of those years, or last year when CFIA issued the guidance, that in the history books, people might look back and say, hey, 2023 was when this gene editing thing really took off, when CFIA issued its new guidance, and companies like Cibus knew that, okay, we have the clarity we need to start really getting serious about this. When you think about the future, 10, 20, 30, 100 years from now, can you speculate a little bit on what gene editing might help us to accomplish? Have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I do think that by having the regulatory clarity, that is going to stimulate more investment and more organizations to get involved, like ourselves, because that does help with saying, we have a clear path. As I think about, for the future in the next few decades, I think we're just scratching the surface. Really, the initial products are more like duplicating the type of approach that we've seen in GMOs of creating traits, but through a new means that's more efficient and less costly. But really, it's about how can we create this as a true breeding tool that's incorporated into breeding programs that really we can use at scale, speed, efficiency to really increase genetic gain and really create products much faster and make gains much faster.
Yeah, gene editing is really going to help us pretty much speed up everything. So I know right now, like from, wheat and barley and, from the beginning of the first crosses to when coming to market can be about 12 years. And so it's my understanding that gene editing will, or has the potential to really help us speed that up a lot.
Absolutely. And, I mentioned, we announced, the first wheat plant grown from a single cell. And that to me is a pretty big deal because it signals that we're now becoming capable of really editing and making advances in wheat rapidly. And wheat being a staple crop, it's something that really needs the investment and needs the technology to continue to increase the yield gains, but also productivity in general.
Yeah, exactly. No, looking forward to seeing what the future holds for the technology and for Cibus. Thanks for sitting down with me, Norm.
Thank you, Mark.